Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson Reuters, The Answer Company. Crutchfield Dermatology, a full-service treatment center and Medi-Spa in Eagan. Their goal is to help you look good and feel great with beautiful skin. With service built around courtesy, dignity, and respect, Mayo-trained Dr. Charles Crutchfield personally treats each patient and is acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. The Minnesota Twins are looking forward to another great season in 2023, led by the return of All-Stars Carlos Correa and Brian Buxton. With the return of numerous players who were injured in 2022 and some new acquisitions, another division crown and a return to the World Series are in their sights. Established in 2007, 45th Parallel Spirits was among the first 50 micro-distilleries in the United States. Based in New Richmond, Wisconsin, all aspects of production occur at our facility. If you're interested in visiting and learning more about the 45th Parallel Distillery, please check our website and plan a visit to tour our facility and taste our spirits. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org.
Welcome to Access to Democracy. Alan Miller with you, and we have a return guest, Joe Leko. And Joe was here last year. Now, what has happened in your life since last April?
Oh boy, besides just aging another year, I have a new job title. I am now sheriff.
Aha, that's
yes.
What we were.
Yes, yes. It's been
were,
quite the year.
You were the chief deputy last year when you were here, and ran unopposed, I might add, and was thus elected unanimously.
Yes, yes.
in November, and
yes.
You're now the Dakota County Sheriff.
Yes, very honored and humbled to have this opportunity to serve the people of Dakota County.
And you're following in big footsteps. Of course, Tim Leslie had size 13 shoes, so
yes.
it's
well, both my feet can fit into one of his shoes, but I'm going to try my best. Going to try my best and grow into them.
And how has it been? It really, for you, who have had a career here in Dakota County, and you've held so many different jobs in the sheriff's office, it must have been less of a transition than it would have been for somebody coming in from the outside.
I would assume so, but it's also still a steep learning curve for me, Alan. So I've been fortunate to have good working relationships with a lot of the city agencies, you know, Eagan and all the 11 other agencies that are within Dakota County. So I have a good working relationship with those chiefs and officers. I think, and then also the business side of the sheriff's office, I understand that from working there for 25 years and running it as chief deputy.
And you really ran the business side of the sheriff's office for a couple of years.
8 years under Sheriff Leslie, yes. So. Yes, but I think the learning curve for me is more so just dealing with the the issues that come in front of us as far as big picture and interacting with the stakeholders on the outside, legislature at the Capitol. All those are somewhat new to me, but I'm finding that I'm getting my feet wet right now and enjoying it, but I appreciate the challenges that come with it.
What about equipment-wise? How are our deputies now equipped? I know that they have computers in the cars. What about body cameras? Have we gone to that yet?
Yes, our sheriff's office, we have body cameras on all of our deputies. Before, probably last year, maybe even when I talked to you, it was just in patrol.
I know, right? It was new at that time.
Yeah,
I think. Yes.
And we expanded. We expanded from our patrol to also in our courts, in our civil process deputies. Also, we've had them in our jail as well. Our correctional deputies wear them in our jail. So we expanded it throughout the entirety of our uniformed staff at the sheriff's office.
And speaking of the jail, we've had some incidents lately where deputies in the jail were attacked.
In the state prison system, I think we've seen that publicized as well, but our deputies in our county jail are not exempt from that either. most recently they've seen inmates that have attacked them for one reason or another. Either they're going through a mental health crisis or just angry for some reason, but we've had our own deputies attacked as well. Fortunately not hurt seriously, but yes, they've been.
Mental health is certainly an ongoing problem in law enforcement. We obviously are not paying sufficient attention to the mental health needs of our society because sheriffs, police officers are called on to do mental health work, and sometimes it runs disastrously bad because you don't have the training for the most part to deal with a mental health crisis. I think that's a fair statement, isn't it?
Yes, but I also think that we've made some advancements in that. And over the last few years, Alan, we've had crisis intervention training. All of our deputies are trained to de-escalate situations, recognize when somebody's in crisis, and then appropriately communicate to try to de-escalate it. We also have social workers that are now embedded within some of our squad cars.
That's really important. I didn't know that. Actually embedded in some of the squad cars.
Yes.
Very important.
And they know how that is their expertise. And when the situation calls for it and it's a safe environment or safe call where there's maybe not a violence that might need us to be in the forefront, if it's somewhere the social worker can take the call from the start and we stand in the background, that's how we prefer to take it, because they have that connection to resources and maybe even are familiar with that customer or the client or the person.
As long as it doesn't escalate to a danger situation, right?
And then we would step in if needed. Yes.
Now, is there anything worse than a domestic violence case in terms of, something you can just expect? People whose emotions are really, really on the edge.
Yeah, those are very dangerous calls. We actually just assisted Cannon Falls 2 days ago on what appeared to be a domestic. It's on the surface. I don't want to get out too far in front and assume that that's what it was, but it was a man and a girlfriend, and he shot her, actually, and thankfully she survived.
I was going to say, fortunately, she wasn't killed.
Yeah, those can escalate very quickly with emotion, anger issues, and maybe even chemicals or substance abuse or whatever it might be. I'm not saying that any of those were indication of what happened down there, but a very dangerous situation where we had to come down there and provide security to the rest of the neighborhood, and he barricaded himself.
And he was barricaded in the house for hours. And somebody was negotiating with him ultimately. I don't know who, whether it was sheriffs or whether it was local police or social workers or who.
Yes, our SWAT team responded with our armored vehicles. And when I know people question sometimes the militarization of police, but when you have someone that has access to weapons, specifically rifles that can very easily penetrate a bulletproof vest, we want to make sure that our officers are safe. So they tried to call him out. Unfortunately, he took his own life. We don't know when that negotiations time that happened. We never were able to reestablish negotiations with him, but we were able to at least rescue the woman and bring her to the hospital where she was treated and released the day after with injuries. But she was shot in the head. So that was an escalated situation, impulsive, that happened. It could have been very dangerous for everybody responding.
Certainly could. Now, you mentioned bullets that would pierce a vest. The fact of the matter is, bullets today are not bullets that, I'm used to from a weapon in my youth. These are armor-piercing bullets. They're manufactured entirely differently, and they're much more dangerous in my estimation.
There are some, that have with technology that have, different capabilities. But we assume that everything, especially from a rifle, that we've got to make sure that we're protecting ourselves with multiple layers, including, the armored vehicles to keep us safe, so we can get close enough, at least to negotiate through the intercom.
Now, you said a SWAT team showed up. How do you get the SWAT team together in a situation like that? You say there's somebody barricaded in a house. He apparently shot somebody, and I guess she was still in the house. I don't know. I
don't know the exact situation where she was at, but once we get a call like that was in Cannon Falls, which is actually Goodhue County, but we heard it on the radio, and we had automatically just responded just to assist because we knew we had the equipment. It wasn't just the armored vehicles that we assisted with, but also the drones to provide oversight of the area.
That was another thing I was going to get to. So we're talking about getting the SWAT team together. They're not sitting there waiting for a call. So what happens when that call comes in?
Correct. Their primary duties could be in the courts, out on patrol, investigations, wherever it might be. But once that call comes out, it comes through your phone. They're looking for people to come down there and put together a response team. So it usually comes through dispatch, requiring or requesting an assistance to Cannon Falls. A page is, I'm dating myself, or a notification comes out. And
everybody
then they
carries a phone and.
Yes, and they respond from their homes, or while they're on duty. If they can do so, they do so. But we have a very large SWAT team that's in partnership with a lot of the cities in Dakota County, with the exception of Egan and Burnsville, who have their own. But otherwise, the rest of the cities do have, they have individuals from their home agencies, officers that are on that team. Some 2, 3,
and they rely on your SWAT team in those situations.
Yeah, yes, we do. And it's very, I don't want to say rare. We're not called out that often, but when we are, it's those extreme circumstances where they need, the tools and equipment, and maybe even a long-term negotiation period where we want to secure a certain area. We have the equipment and personnel to do so.
Another thing that we're just getting used to is the use of drones. How active is your office with use of drones? Very active.
We're starting to expand. We're getting into, there's new technology out there all the time, Alan, whether it's battery life to keep the drone up there longer, or the camera quality to make sure that that's continues to improve. But just as an example with the Cannon Falls, to be able to search that building, we were able to get in there by breaching the door mechanically with one of our vehicles, and then having a smaller drone go into the house to actually look. We don't send our people in or dogs in if we can avoid it. If we can look inside there to see what we have, we'll utilize that technology, and we've used it. We use it often.
And we're talking now about dogs. So you have a K9 unit also. How expansive is that?
We have one. We're going to expand to 2. One right now, which is an apprehension canine dog, but also a drug canine dog that can detect drugs. The second one they're bringing on that's going to be trained in the summer is actually an explosive detecting dog, which is the only one within Dakota County. So we will, with the Vikings facility here in Egan, and then other, highly utilized areas even the airport for that matter, we go out and assist them if they need it. But it'd be nice to have an explosive dog, we thought, because there aren't many around the Twin Cities area, and most of them are utilized as narcotics and apprehension dogs.
A sad commentary on our times, really, that we have to have drones utilized by law enforcement, that we have to have dogs that are trained to pick out explosives, but it's where we are in what has become a pretty violent society.
Yeah, safety of the citizens is our priority, and if we have to use those tools, we can do so. We make sure we utilize them to the best.
What's your feeling about registering handguns?
That has been, I think that's a legislative bill possibly right now at the Capitol, registering firearms, and that is a very contentious, I guess, with some, because, but I also feel that there's a benefit to that. We have so many guns out there, and I know that we have steps to go through for those legal gun owners that they're already going through to get a permit to carry. This one, in addition, would just add, when they have firearms, to register those, and then have a database that's only accessible to law enforcement. That is private data; it should not be public data. That is something that's being discussed at the Capitol at this point. There are some bills at the Capitol that I don't agree with that are, firearms related, but there are some that, if we can make a public safer without infringing on the right for the Second Amendment, we're listening and talking to those legislators.
When I was young and strong, and that's going back a lot of decades, I was law secretary to a criminal court judge on Long Island, county court judge. And as a result of that, I got a peace officer's badge, was sworn, and I also got a .38. Well, he got the .38, but he said, I don't want to touch it. You take it, you learn how to use it.
Right.
And actually I did. We moved out here 25, 26 years ago, and in New York, everything is registered, and they know exactly who has what.
Right.
I walked into the police station right after we moved here with my guns, and I said, 2 handguns, and I want to register them. And they said, "This is Minnesota, fella.
You don't have to.
You're going to keep them at home? You're not going to carry them?" I said, "I don't know."
Right. We currently don't have that requirement here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It came as a complete shock to me.
Some states do.
I think it might be a good thing to have. Same as these people who purchase at gun sales that don't have to have any registration, and a mental health check on people. We've seen so many people who have mental health problems who have been armed, and it endangers your people. It endangers law enforcement.
Absolutely.
To say nothing of private citizens.
Absolutely.
So I think...
a lot of work to be done in that area.
Yeah. What about recruitment? You had mentioned when you came in that are you down in the numbers that you should have? And you are.
We are down quite a bit, actually. But I don't want to say we're in crisis mode yet, but we're not seeing the number of applicants that we normally have for our licensed positions, and same with our correctional positions. But we're down, I think, 4 at this point. You talk to Hennepin County, they're down 50. You talk to Golden Valley, they almost have an entire police department that they have to replace. What's happening now, Alan, is we're not seeing the enrollment in the schools because of recent events from George Floyd, from Brooklyn Park, any incident across the United States for that matter. I think people that were thinking about getting into this profession have now looked at it and thought, maybe second-guessed it. I still believe it's the best profession to be in, the most noble position to be in, the most rewarding profession to be in. But with that said, we're seeing 20 applicants for 5 jobs, where when I was applying 25 years ago, you'd see 300 applicants for 1 or 2 jobs. So we're hoping the pendulum swings back. We're trying our best as far as recruitment and showing us behind the badge.
After the Vietnam War, applications to join the Army went way down because it just soured the public.
Right.
And because of George Floyd and other incidents around the country, I think the same thing has happened to law enforcement, not just the sheriff's office, but we read about police officers and police officers that are needed in so many communities. And
they are. We need good people. We need good people, and that's we don't lower our standards when it comes to hiring just because the hiring pool is lower. We want to make sure we have good people that are highly skilled, good communicators, compassionate, care about people. But on the flip side, that's kind of a double-edged sword because we also experience trauma in our job. If you care and have compassion for people, and you see some pretty traumatic things, that the careers can be shortened as well. So we got to focus on the wellness of the ones we have, so we can retain them, and they can have long, successful careers.
Is PTSD a problem?
It is. It's been popping up with several in our office and across the nation, for that matter. But it is something we're seeing within law enforcement.
If they're in a traumatic incident, or there's certainly gunfire involved.
Yes, or even going to a fatal crash. We just had a 17-year-old from Farmington that was killed in a traffic crash just 3 or 4 weeks ago. And you go to those calls, you're human, and you see those things. It's hard for that not to impact you. Yeah. We're trying to make sure that we're having dialogue about those and talk through them and provide resources to our staff. So that
we have a 22-year-old officer who was
yes.
really in a very severe crash here in Egan just a few weeks ago. And
yes, Kate Egan.
He's got a long way to go.
Yes,
before he comes
think
back.
about him every day, and glad that he survived and is on the road to recovery. But like you said, it looks like a long road to recovery. Yeah. It's scary. It's scary.
So, for the people that are watching, and we do go out to 35 cities, if you want to apply to become a Dakota County Sheriff, or we'll go into some of the other counties also, what are your requirements? What do you need?
Well, the state requires that you have a peace officer's license, which it's a minimum of a 2-year educational program, and there's several schools across the state that offer that. And then you have to go through what's called the skills program, which is a hands-on.
Inver Hills, I think, is one of them.
Inver Hills does. That's where I graduated from.
Right.
But we also have the ability to, especially with the sheriff's office, the unique opportunity in our jail. Our correctional deputies do not need to be licensed by the state of Minnesota. So we're looking for people that just have 2 years of any type of work experience to come in, and you can come in, get this this great experience while you're going to school, even to become a peace officer or a deputy, and you get to work in that environment. And it's a great way to expose yourself to the profession. And those are ways to start while you're deciding whether or not you want to become a licensed officer.
No, I'm going to be 89 this summer.
You
so
ready?
Am I too old?
Absolutely not. We can bring you in. There's no age requirement, right? And you're coming to our Citizens Academy next week.
Starting, thank you for that, yes.
Yes.
For the
we're looking forward to
reminder,
that.
right. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we like showing up. You'll see all these things that we're talking about, the drones, our canines, and our SWAT team. You'll have firsthand experience getting exposed to those and meet some of those deputies that are in those units. It'll be fun.
I mean, I have trouble getting in and out of my car, so
you and me both.
When it comes to the physical part of it, I'm not sure that I can make it. But,
well, maybe you can run our drone for us or something.
Well,
do something like that. Yeah, plenty of opportunities.
Car thefts, catalytic converters, how big a problem is that?
It is a problem, but there's been some recent legislation that we hope will curb that, that will go in effect this summer, where it's required that the VIN numbers are on those catalytic converters now. And there was also work from the Homeland Security investigations here with the federal government that made some big arrests that were tied into New Jersey that were also impacting here locally with a lot of the catalytic converter thefts. We're hoping that may also deter it. So we saw it with pseudoephedrine and meth labs, where once we took control of the pseudoephedrine, that reduced the meth labs and also increased penalties. And we're hoping the same with catalytic converters that require that there's VIN numbers on there. So when they go to scrap the metal and turn it in, that if that's not on there and if you're in possession of that, you could be charged with a crime.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
It's a long time in coming.
Yes, I agree. We've been chasing it for a while.
But usually the criminals are out ahead of law enforcement as they use scams and all sorts of things. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Try to stay ahead of them as best we can, but
I only last week got a call from an FBI officer who told me that there's a scandal and I am named in it. And I have to go to court in Mexico.
Wow.
And he was giving me a heads up.
Wow. Yeah, well, we need to educate and make sure that we're out front on those scams, because there's a lot of people that do.
So I checked him out with the FBI.
Oh, good for you.
There was no
absolutely
such,
not. Right.
No such animal.
Right.
And when he called back, I told him that, and he really got arrogant about it. He said, "I'm trying to help you." And
he called back?
Yeah. Oh. Called me 4 times.
Even better. Oh boy.
Called me 4 times.
Yeah.
And
you ask him who his supervisor is?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I got a name.
Oh.
And I checked out the name, and it was somebody who was kicked out of the FBI for lying.
Yeah. So I mean, we need to educate. You know, and we just posted something on our Facebook with that very similar thing where people were calling impersonating as a deputy with the sheriff's office, saying that you owe bail money to so-and-so's in custody. So it's very important. These financial scams, either on the internet or over the phone, are taking a lot of money from people, and a lot of times they're happening from overseas, and we can't chase it down. So we got to get out front and educate.
I just read about a woman who lost $30,000 through one of those scams. Unbelievable.
Every day,
and,
every day, unfortunately.
What about forensics? Do you do your own forensics, or do you rely on the BCA or the local?
The physical forensics, the BCA assists us with a lot of that as far as crime scenes, fingerprints, DNA. They will take the evidence from our scene and they will process that. But as far as forensic evidence, when it comes to electronic crimes, we have our own electronic crimes unit. That's a partnership with a lot of the cities within the Dakota County, and they work on all the cell phones. Everybody carries a cell phone. There's a lot of data on there. So if a crime is involved and they have a search warrant to go through that phone, we do our own processing there. But as far as physical evidence, the BCA handles most of ours.
Have ghost guns been a problem in Dakota County?
We've run into a few with our drug task force, who's also a violent crimes task force. They've run into some ghost guns. We've seen it in the metro as well, where they're guns that are put together, coming through the mail or whatever in pieces, and it's assembled. So we were seeing some of it out there, and we work with the ATF on those cases when we run into them.
And what about fentanyl at the moment?
Oh boy, that for me. And I'm not saying we don't have any other issues. All those that you mentioned are as well. But the fentanyl is in crisis mode right now, Alan. We have a lot of people that are overdosing, and the availability in the streets is tenfold, even in the last 3 years. So
I just saw that Narcan was just You don't need a prescription anymore. You can get it, I guess, in a drugstore or
Yeah,
something
it'll be
like
over
that.
the counter. But with that said, I want to make sure that, everybody knows that that's not, it shouldn't be a false sense of security
No,
having
for
that
sure.
with. I mean,
sure. You shouldn't be using the drugs in the first place. And
right.
they're also apparently lacing the fentanyl with other drugs, which makes Narcan not necessarily useful in those cases.
Right. It can still help, but with that said, you don't even know if you're buying marijuana. It's in marijuana. It's in methamphetamine. It's in all the drugs. You might not know that when you're buying it. So that's the scary part about it. You don't even know what you're taking, obviously, when you're buying illegal drugs.
I'll stick to my glass of wine with dinner.
Yes, you know the exact bottle, what the
Yeah.
proof is on there, right?
Yeah.
What you're drinking, but not with fentanyl and illegal drugs. You don't know what you're ingesting, and it's a highly dangerous and very crisis situation right now for the drug use, and we're trying to get out front with it with campaigning and awareness, prevention, and our drug task force is seizing a lot of it off the streets right now. But
now you put a lot of officers into the schools for lectures and things like that, don't you?
we try to, yes,
Yeah.
yes. We try to educate that age group that's using the fentanyl. See, they're in pill forms, so it's so easy, Alan. It's not. I mean, you can just put a pill in your pocket, and you wouldn't even think twice. They're counterfeit. They look like oxycodone or oxycontin. It's not like
Which is bad enough in itself.
bad enough in itself, but you're not walking around with a rolled up joint or a meth pipe or anything in your pocket. So it's easy to hide, and the kids are easy just to throw it in their mouth, and they don't know what they're ingesting. So we need to get that message out, especially through our school systems, of the dangers of fentanyl.
I mean, vaping was bad enough. I think that vaping was a real danger, and it still is. And these things transcend that by far.
Absolutely.
The pills.
We have a high demand, and there's a high supply of it up here right now.
And as you say, they're not necessarily legitimate. They're phony. They're
right. Yeah. We see it. We seized 110,000 fentanyl pills last year at the Drug Task Force, and we've already seized more than that this year in 3 months. 110,000.
Whoa.
And so that was the most fentanyl we seized in 1 year at the Drug Task Force than we did for the previous 20 years combined. And I ran the Drug Task Force for a while, and I can say firsthand that the amount of methamphetamine and drugs they're seizing now is tenfold than it was 10 years ago. And that, I don't want to make it, is a fear for people out there, because maybe you don't see it, but it's out there, and it's a very serious situation we're in right now. So we need to make sure.
Why are these kids using it? I mean, not even kids. Why are these adults relying on this?
It's highly addictive. You talked about mental health. You talked about ways to self-medicate. I think, and once they have those first pills, and that's what the source, those that are supplying the drugs hope, is that you become addicted to it. So you keep ordering more. So when we have people that are trying to self-medicate, they take these drugs to escape for a little bit, and they become addicted.
We've been talking with Dakota County Sheriff Joe Leko, who was just elected last November. And he's been here before, and he'll be back with us again as we have an ongoing need to keep up with law enforcement. And I want to thank you very much for coming in and taking the time out of your day. And stick with us. This is Access to Democracy, and we'll see you shortly.
Thank
Joe,
you, Alan.
thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.